All right, today we are diving into a really radical blueprint for social change. It all stems from one single, incredibly powerful question. So let's just get right into it. I know, it sounds like something straight out of science fiction, right? But that's the core challenge we're going to dig into. Can a community literally engineer a brand new existence from the ground up just by, rewriting the rulebook? Our journey is going to take us to Kenema in Sierra Leone, which is the source of this really fascinating thought experiment in what some people call ontological engineering. Now, I know that's a mouthful, but it's a fancy term for a pretty simple idea. Stop just critiquing the world as it is and start actively building a new one. So where would you even begin with something that ambitious? Well, according to this theory, you start with a blueprint, a kind of map for an entirely new society. And I gotta warn you, it comes with a pretty intense name. Okay, get ready for this one. It's called the Double Transversal Transjective Quadratic Model Theory, or DDTQMT for short. But hang on, don't let the jargon scare you off. Seriously, at its core, you can just think of it as a blueprint. It's a tool designed to map out all those powerful, often invisible forces that have shaped a place like Kenema over the decades. So this blueprint, it works by mapping where four key forces collide. First, you've got the ecological history of the land. Then, the economic legacy of things like diamond mining. Next, the very modern threat to digital freedom and privacy. And finally, you have the somatic. That's the physical, lived, bodily resistance of the people themselves. The whole idea is that to build something new, you first have to understand exactly how these forces smash together to create the world you're living in right now. But look, a map is really just the starting point, isn't it? The next part is all about how this super complex theory actually translates into real, tangible action. Because this project, it's not just about thinking, it is absolutely about doing. And this brings us to a really beautiful concept they call sacramental hand theology. It's this core belief that true resistance isn't just found in books or arguments, but in the dirt and the sweat of actually making things. The act of farming, of building a home. These things become sacred, deeply political acts of creating a new world. And this right here, this just perfectly captures the huge shift this whole project is about. See, on one hand, you've got traditional theory. It's great, absolutely brilliant for analyzing what's wrong. But on the other, you have this model of theory as action. It's embodied, it's physical, and it's focused completely on building the solution. It's the difference between, say, writing an essay about a better world and actually getting your hands dirty to go out and build it. Okay, so you've got the blueprint, you've got the physical action, but there's one more piece of the puzzle, and it's a crucial one, the very words you use to describe your new reality. The theory goes like this. A lot of colonial languages are really noun-heavy. They're designed to categorize things, to own them, to control them. So to break free, you need a whole new vocabulary. This process of creating a new language is called anarcho-mystical linguistogenesis. I know, it's another wild one, but just think of linguogenesis as the birth of a new language. It's a full-on rebellion against the limits of old words. And that leads to this really important distinction. Instead of static nouns that just pin things down, this new language is all about what it calls insurgent verbs. These are words of action, of movement, of becoming. It's a language that isn't designed to capture reality, but to actually create it. They even have a name for this process, verb forging, and it's framed as a deliberate act of insurgency. First, you identify a need that the old language just doesn't have a word for. Then you create a brand new verb for it. You weave that new word into your daily life, into your rituals. And by doing that, step by step, you begin to speak that new reality into being. It's ontological engineering, right down to the level of a single sentence. Now, I get it. This might all be sounding a little out there, a little speculative. But what's so fascinating is how these ideas that come from Kenema actually mirror very real documented shifts that are happening in academic thinking right now. I mean, if you just look at where post-colonial studies have been heading, you see these exact same themes bubbling up. Over the last few years, scholars have really been focusing on things like digital sovereignty, the legacies of empire, all leading towards this fundamental rethinking of the social sciences. These are all core pieces of the Kenema model. And it's not just abstract ideas. You can point to specific scholars. You have Vanessa Andreotti talking about moving from critique to practice. You have Julian Go discussing the mapping of multiplex overlapping forces, which sounds a lot like the DTQMT, doesn't it? Gurminder Bhamra is actively working to remake the social sciences. These real-world academic trends, they give this speculative model from Kanema a powerful dose of relevance. So is this whole thing a perfect, finished utopia? No, not at all. And you know what? That's actually the most important part of the story. As the source material points out so well, the entire field is really skeptical of these perfect final answers. This Kenema project, it would be seen for exactly what it is, a work in progress, but a really, really important one. And that is the ultimate thing to take away here. The real significance of this blueprint isn't whether it achieves some flawless new society. Its power is in the attempt itself, that rare, courageous effort to move beyond just analyzing problems and to actually start building a new world. Which, of course, leaves us with one final question to think about. When it comes to the future of resistance, does it lie in the sharpness of our critique, or does it lie in the strength of what we can build with our own two hands?